Good evening, future Maryland homebuyers. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Jackie Muick, Consumer Advocacy and Website Manager for Maryland Realtors. I want to welcome you to the Your Home Buying Keys webinar for this evening. Assembled tonight, we have experts in the industry. With us, we have Isis Tepper, a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Penn Fed Realty, Kelly Williamson, a lender from Meridian, and Catherine Kramer Dale and Frank Bamunde from Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, also known as DHCD. Tonight, you will get an abundance of information to help you navigate and succeed in your home buying journey. This webinar will be recorded and sent out to all attendees next week. We encourage your questions and we're looking forward to answering them. Please post all of your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And with that, I will turn it over to Isis.
Hi, everybody. My name is Isis Tepper, and like Jackie said, I'm a real estate agent with Berkshire Hathaway. Just a little bit about myself. I have over 9 years of experience. I'm originally from Bolivia. I speak Spanish and Portuguese, and I serve mostly Frederick County, but I also go to Montgomery County and other areas. Well, I want to welcome you all. How do we prepare? One of the first steps, as you are, it's being here and um, checking the Maryland homeownership.com. It's a great way taking your home buyer education courses, check your credit, take a look at your finances, and understand some of your debt to income ratio, examine your current monthly expenses, and determine your ideal range for monthly payment. I cannot stress this enough because once you have the meeting with the lender, this is something that the lender might qualify you for up to like 500,000, let's say, right? But you only want to pay $2,500 a month. So that's very important that you talk to your lender and tell them, hey, even though I qualify for 500, I want to be around this number. So keep that in mind. And also, when it says prepare your finances, this is before you meet with the lender. Okay. So looking for a real estate agent, looking for a realtor. One of the ways to look for a realtor is look for recommendations with your family, your friends. Learn about the difference between agent, broker, and realtor. The biggest difference between an agent and a realtor is the realtor are held by the code of ethics. Also, I cannot stress enough is interview different realtors because this is going to be a long partnership that you're going to have with your real estate agent. And also something that I always do with my clients that I think is important is to have a buyer consultation. So when clients call me, I always tell them, hey, before anything, can we meet for 30 minutes so we can go over and discuss our buyer agency agreement and the whole process. So very important. If you make a phone call to an agent and they want to show you a property right away, run away because you do have to have a buyer agency agreement and you need to be explained. Discuss also compensation. Compensation is a very important part that you have to understand. It's Maryland law now that part of our buyer agency agreement compensation needs to be discussed. And you have to understand that there are ways, for your agent to hopefully get some of that cover, but you are responsible for the compensation of your agent. And then choose an agent that you trust and that will guide you. Decide your needs and your budget. Very important. There's a huge difference between what you need and what you want. I mean, I would love to have $1 million home. Do I need it? I don't think so. So there are some points in here that you might want to consider, like the number of bedrooms, the distance the commute that you want to have from your home to your work, if you want a fence yard, etc. And the next most important is you have to get pre-approved, right? So that's the next step. You need to call a lender and talk to the lender. Once you have your pre-approval, that's when you're gonna start shopping. And this is the fun part. This is the part that is exciting. So make sure that you don't oversee things. Make sure that you're taking notes, and talk to your realtor so they can narrow your search, take pictures, and yes, bring a measuring tape. You will not believe how important that is. Um, Also, I will not recommend looking at more than 5 homes, because after you're starting and looking at more than 5 homes, every home start looking the same. So um, take notes, because once you go home, you'll be like, oh my goodness, was that a home that had like the green wall? So you want to have something to remind you. Okay. So we found a house that we love and we're ready to make an offer. This is when you want to meet with your agent, your realtor, and you guys are gonna make he's gonna make recommend he or she will make recommendations on how to um, make the negotiation strategy for you to submit your offer. That will have the offer priced, the settlement date, and the cooperative compensation information, which is basically your agent requesting the seller to pay for your compensation and any contingencies like inspection, financing, appraisal contingency, etc. And this is how the offer process goes, right? You submit your offer gets accepted, your contract is ratified. What happened next? That contract is going to be sent to the title company to start the whole process, not only to the title company, also to the lender. Those are the two entities that will get a copy of, and you, of course, a copy of the contract. So one of the contingencies that we have was inspection contingency, right? So usually I do about 5 to 7 days, depending on the house. If the house needs a septic or water quality test, then I put a little bit of a longer terms. There isn't such a thing as a pass and fail inspection, except for the septic, because then that's a different story. So make sure that you checked everything. Make sure that you hired an inspector that is bond and insured. You do want to ask that question to the inspector: are you bond and insured? Because we're all humans, and if they miss something, you want to make sure that they have something to back them up. Something that I always do, just for peace of mind, is in my contract I request that the seller provides a 1-year home warranty. Even if they don't pay for it, I always recommend my buyers, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, you're going to put a lot of money at the beginning to purchase your home. So you do want to have that peace of mind. And home warranties are usually a really good resource to have. So after the inspection happens, then it comes the appraisal. The appraisal is ordered by your lender. And after the appraisal happens, then you have your final walkthrough. And once you have your walkthrough, you want to make sure that everything that, it was, sorry, let me go back to here. When you do your final walkthrough, you want to make sure that everything that happened on the inspection, if there are any requests, that those requests were met, and that you have all of the proof, and that everything was done by professional licensed contractors. Yeah, basically that's it. You're all done. So just Make sure that you read everything, that if you have any questions, that you ask the lender, that you ask title will will be working closely with you and the lender and the realtor. But most importantly, this is a partnership between all of us, right? So communication, it's key. And it's very, very important that if you have any question, there isn't such a thing as a dumb question. If you have a question, pick up the phone, call your agent, your realtor, and ask the question. If it is about money, call your lender and ask question. If it is anything related to title, call the title company. This is the most important and largest purchase that you're going to be making. So you want to make sure that you make informed decisions. And at closing, bring two forms of ID. Bring either your passport and your ID, or your driver license and your checkbook. Um, and move in. And once you move in, make sure you update your records and you apply for the Homestead credit. um, Tip about the Homestead credit: after you move, one of the things that they will ask you for, it's a copy of your ID. So make sure that you go to the MBA and get your address of record on your ID. Okay. So that's it for me. If you have any questions, I guess submit it to the QA box. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isis. All
Yeah.
right. So I'm not seeing any questions coming through yet. I am going to stop sharing your screen. Um, but one of the questions that every realtor will have really wonderful insight into is, with so many potential realtors in the state of Maryland, we have almost 30,000. How do you find one, and what do you look for to find one that you think is going to work for you and that you might be able to trust?
That's a great question. Again, asking for recommendation, reading reviews. I actually was just posting nowadays. It's no secret, right? You can see the volume of a realtor has, so they can't tell you, "Oh, I have so much experience," and they haven't sold anything. I'm not saying that that might not be a good fit for you, but if maybe they have somebody that they work with that has a lot of experience, then definitely that's great. But I will say, search on the internet, check our website, also ask friends, your family, people that have bought and sold before. They might know somebody that it might be a great fit for you. And also, something that I failed to mention was, on your buying agency agreement, which by law, before you see any houses, you have to sign. There's a termination clause that is, I usually put only 7 days, because I don't want to held anybody hostage, and I don't want to be held hostage. So if we're not a good fit, then I give my clients the option that, hey, you know what, Isis, it was a great working with you, but I don't think, we are meant for each other. So then they can move on and find somebody else. Or maybe I don't feel good working with, whatever the reason is. um, so that's why, read your agreement before you sign anything. Read your agreement.
Yeah, one of the questions that came through is, do we have any lender or realtor recommendations? And what I can say is, Isis and Kelly on this call right now are both wonderful professionals in their fields, respectively. Um, and we will talk more about how you can find other lenders to be able to use some programs that we'll be discussing at the end of this webinar,
Mhm.
which I see another question came through about different programs, and we will get to that one. So hold on. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait for the end of the webinar. Um, but as Isis was saying, like, ask around for the people that you trust. But also make sure you're paying attention to what areas they work in, because that local market is so important and a huge factor. If you're looking in Frederick, talk to Isis, because she's wonderful and she will be able to help you, and she will know that local market. Um, but all realtors all people who have their license for the state of Maryland are licensed in the entire state of Maryland. So if you have someone and you really want to work with them specifically, you'll be good to go. But local expertise is a huge factor that is really good for you to consider. All right. I'm not seeing any questions currently for you, Isis. If you're able to stay for the end of the webinar, we will have another Q&A section at the end. So if anyone watching this right now, you're like, oh, I should have asked this question about like a realtor or working with a realtor or the actual home search, feel free to put it in the chat and we will come back to it at the end. But for now, we're going to pass it over to Kelly. Thank you so much, Isis.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's a great job, Isis. So my name is Kelly Williamson. I'm with Meridian Bank. A little bit about myself. I've been in the business for 30 years. Yes, I'm telling on myself on my age, but I've been doing this a long time. I've been working with Catherine for a long time, with Catherine Cramperdale, who's also on the call. And I've also worked with the Maryland Mortgage Program for probably, my entire career. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some information with you today on how to better prepare yourself and edify you for the lending piece. There are a bunch of lenders out here. I think that it's best that you work with a local lender who's familiar with not just MMP, but the other programs that you can use to stack for your down payment assistance as well as closing costs. And if you have enough money, you may be able to use some of the funds to bring down your loan amount. So that helps you with your payment. So first, what I want to let me see if I can share my screen with the mortgage process. So let's see if we can do this here. Okay. Can everybody see this, the mortgage process? Can you guys see that?
No, not yet.
Okay. Hold on. How about now?
There we go. Yes.
Okay. Now, is it big enough?
I would zoom in a few times if you see the plus sign at the bottom right corner of your screen.
Okay, let's see here. No?
That's good. I would do like one or two more clicks on that plus sign and then you should be good.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, so you guys can see that? Can everybody see it?
Yes, you're all good.
Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about the mortgage process. So when you meet with a lender, when you meet with a realtor, the first thing they want to know is, have you talked to a lender and have you been pre-approved? There is a difference between being pre-approved and pre-qualified. So if you go to a lender who is going to pull your credit and request documentation from you that the underwriter is going to also review at some point, then that's how you get a true pre-approval. Okay. What we do is we collect all this data and we give you a comprehensive analysis of what you qualify for. There are going to be some qualifying questions that we ask. Some of the first things we're going to ask for is, how is your credit, right? How do you rate your credit on a scale of 1 to 10? Most recently, we did have investors that would go down to a 620 credit score. Now that is 640, but it may go back to 620. Okay. When you have your credit report pulled, you can ask your lender if they do soft pulls or if they do hard pulls. So a soft pull will give us the same information a hard pull will give you, except it won't show up as an inquiry on your credit report. So that's important. One of the other qualifying questions I ask, if you're renting, how much is your rent? And then as far as your budget is concerned, what is your threshold of payment that you can, comfortably pay to be a successful homeowner? That payment is going to directly correlate to the price range that you are going to purchase in. It may correlate to the area you purchase in. So for instance, if you want a payment of, $1,000 a month, but you're looking in the $300,000 price range, that doesn't add up. So something has to change. Either your desired or threshold of payment needs to come up, or the price range that you need to look in needs to come down. Now, most lenders are going to qualify you for the maximum, and it's based off of your gross income. But make sure that you let everyone know where you're comfortable. You have to be comfortable with that payment because you're going to be the one paying it every month. So just make sure that you express that with everybody who's working with you, lender, realtor, um, and even your friends and family. They may have an expectation for you to want to be in a certain area or purchase some sort of home, but you have to stick to your guns with that. The zip codes and the area, the jurisdiction that you purchase in may have different programs for each jurisdiction. Now, the Maryland Mortgage Program covers the entire state. And then some of the other programs, and we'll get to this later, potentially, you can use in different areas like Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Howard County, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. The items that we are going to ask for up front, just remember the most important items and the common items are for your income. If you're an hourly employee or you're a salaried employee, we're going to ask for 30 days of pay stubs. Okay. Now, if you're hourly, what we have to do is we have to average your income over the last year to 2 years. So be prepared to give your last pay stub for each year that may show overtime or bonus or your hourly rate. And we want to get that information, and we want to try to get the maximum income that we can get to help you qualify for what you want. Okay. Your W-2s. We're going to ask for W-2s for the past 2 years as well. What we're looking for is if your income is remaining constant or if that income is declining. And if it is, then you have to explain that. The next thing we ask for is your tax returns. So if you're purchasing in a targeted area with Maryland Mortgage Program, you may only need 2 years of tax returns. But outside of that, you may need 3 years of tax returns. Now, we're not just talking about MMP, but for most people, we're going to require it in a minimum of 2 years in your tax returns. Now, what are we looking for in your tax returns? One, we want to see if you have any other Schedule C income that you're writing off. So, for instance, you may work a job, you have a set salary or you're hourly, that money will be coming through a W-2. But then if you're self-employed, if you're a commission employee, or if you have a side hustle, it could be cutting grass, it could be baking cakes, or et cetera, and you have a Schedule C, we also want to look at that to see if you're claiming positive income or negative income. So that's very important. For assets, we're going to request your 2 most recent bank statements, and that would include checking and savings. And then we also want to request if you have a 401k or retirement savings, okay? That can help you with your approval, and it serves as reserves. So for instance, if you have a 401k or a Roth or IRA or something like that, that is a savings pattern, and that helps. So we're going to look for that to see what your income levels are. If you're retired, you still can purchase a home. We use your Social Security benefits if you receive them, and we also can use a pension income if you receive that. Now, if in terms of credit, if you had a bankruptcy, then we're going to require your bankruptcy discharge papers. Doesn't mean that you can't purchase a home, but if you have been 2 years from a Chapter 7 and have reestablished your credit, you can still purchase a home. If you do a Chapter 13, then we can look at the last 12 months. And if you get permission from your trustee or an attorney, you still can purchase a home. Okay. The other information, once you get under contract, there's certain other triggers that we're going to need. You're going to have to get quotes for homeowners insurance. That's very important. So that is going to be part of your payment, and we'll talk about that in a minute. If you have student loans, we may request your student loan paperwork if the payments are not clear on your credit report. Now, just keep in mind, for those who have student loans, generally what we do is we take 1%, we take 0.5% of whatever your balance is, and that will be included in your debt to income ratio. So for instance, if you have a $10,000 student loan, a 0.5% of that is $50 a month. Okay. So we'll take $50 a month, and that would be part of your debt to income ratio in terms of debt. If you have $100,000 worth of student loans, then a 0.5% will be $500 a month. So just use that 0.5% multiplication factor, and you multiply that times your balance, and you know that will be part of your debt. Coming to this, well, getting your a workshop done with a license and a HUD approved agency will make you available. It will allow you to become eligible for the programs that are in Baltimore City and some other programs as well. For the Maryland Mortgage Program, you don't need to take a class first, but you still have to take counseling prior to settlement. If you've had credit issues in the past, it does not mean that you can't purchase a home, but what it means is you may have to do some explanation. So whatever's on your credit report, whether it's a collection, whether it's a charge off, whether it's late payments, public records, or bankruptcies, you will likely be requested to explain those derogatory items. Okay. Be prepared when you go under contract to put some money out. All right. So typically, the realtor is going to ask you if you want to put an offer on a $250,000 property. The rule of thumb is what we're seeing is 1% of that amount is $2,500. Take 200,000, 1% is 2,000. So that's your upfront earnest money deposit. And what that is, that shows the seller that you're serious about making an offer on their property. Okay. And that money is held in escrow, and it's actually applied to your down payment and your closing costs. Okay. The appraisal is typically between $500 and $600. Okay. So be prepared to pay for that after you have your home inspection, which is about $400 to $500. If everything checks out, the realtor will call the lender and say, okay, we've negotiated the terms of the conditions that are on their home inspection, and we're ready for the appraisal. Okay. The difference between an appraisal and a home inspection is the appraisal will determine the value of the property. Okay. It does have an inspection component depending on if you're going with VA, FHA, or conventional, but it's not as strict, and it's not going to be as intimate as a home inspection. The home inspector gets paid to find things wrong with the house. So you might see anywhere from 10 to 25 items on a home inspection report, but that's okay. That means you have a good inspector. Not all of those things are going to be deal breakers, but when you get that home inspection report, you'll be able to negotiate what items are going to be taken care of and what items aren't going to be taken care of. All right. So when you're considering programs, okay, there are income limits for pretty much all of the programs with the exception of a few. So what does that mean? Income limits for the household. So if you're married, or if you have children or someone else living in the household, by law, you're required to put those people, you have to disclose that they're going to be living with you. Okay. You are going to sign an affidavit that says, hey, we've disclosed all of the income of not just yourself, but of everyone in the household. So again, most programs have income limits for the entire household. And it's per how many people are in the house. The more people that are in the house, the higher the income limits are. Again, you must provide all of your income. So if you're getting child support can be used to help you qualify for your house. But you say, hey, I don't want to use my child support. I just rather use the money that I have that I'm making, from my job. Well, that's not how it works when you're applying for programs. If you're applying for programs, then yes, you have to disclose all of the income. If you're not applying for programs, then you may not have to disclose that income. Again, we talked about counseling. Some programs require you to have counseling prior to going under contract, and some don't. All right. So the application to clear to close. All right. So when you're approved, you get under contract. Um, what we're going to do is important. Even before you go under contract, once you get pre-approved, you want to go over with your lender and potentially your realtor the fees that are associated with your loan. The most important fees are how much is the mortgage payment going to be? How much money am I going to need for settlement, down payment, and closing costs? My interest rate and the loan amount. Those are the most important things in your numbers. Okay. Um, Most people now like to do electronic signatures where you're doing everything over, over the um, internet or through the computer. Back in the day when I first started, probably my first 20 years in the business, most of our applications were face to face. Now we still offer face to face applications if that's what you prefer, but most people like to get things done quickly and it's less, consuming if you can do something, through the computer. Right. So once you're pre-approved, right, the documents that you have provided, they do have a shelf life. So just be prepared. If you're pre-approved in January and you haven't found a house in April or May, just be prepared to provide, pay stubs and also bank statements as well. Okay. Um, so once you're under contract, and the inspection is done and the appraisal's getting ordered and title work's getting ordered, there's a process with the lending piece. So what's going to happen is we turn your file over to a setup person. The setup person is going to scrub the file. They may ask for items that may be missing or needs updating, and then they give it to a processor. This is how our system works. And the processor is going to scrub the file, make sure that the setup person and loan officer is provided what they needed for them to submit the file to underwriting. Now, this process may take, a week or maybe 10 days or so, but don't fret. People are working in the background. So there are a lot of things that are going on. Sometimes it may be some silence and you may not hear from somebody for a couple of days, but that does not mean that your file is not being worked on or in process. And once you get approved, there may be some items that the underwriter is going to ask for to get to a clear to close. So typically, if you turn in a good file and the team that you're working with is getting all the documentation that they think is needed by the underwriter, you may have a few conditions that the underwriter wants to get just to sign off on the loan so that you get your clear to close. And when you get your clear to close, that's when you'll be ready to go to settlement. Okay. Sometimes the process without programs can be as quick as 20 days, 3 weeks. And then with programs, depending on the program, sometimes it can take up to 60 days. All right. So make sure that you understand, from your realtor and from your loan officer, okay, how long is this process going to take? And in fact, when you go under contract, some contracts are going to give you, all of the contracts are going to give you a settlement date. And that's the date that we're all shooting for. Okay. In terms of your mortgage payment, okay, the breakdown of your payment, you're going to have principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Okay. The principal and interest is based off of the loan amount and your interest rate, right? And if you get a fixed interest rate, that will never change over the life of the loan. Your taxes, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the annual tax figure. We're going to divide it by 12, and that amount is going to be added to your payment. The homeowner's insurance, you're going to get a quote, and then that insurance is going to be an annual fee that's going to be, but we divide it by 12. We put that in your payment as well. And then mortgage insurance. And mortgage insurance is insurance that protects the lender in case you default on your loan. The acronym for the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, you might hear it commonly used as PITI. Okay. Now, taxes and insurance are typically escrowed, and so taxes are paid twice a year, and the homeowner's insurance is paid once a year. Again, with the taxes and insurance, that's that money in your payment. Every time you make a payment, part of it goes into an escrow account that pays those bills. So you may get a bill for your insurance, you may get a bill for the taxes, but the mortgage company is going to get that same bill, and then they're going to pay it accordingly. So that wraps up the mortgage process piece. If I don't have enough time to share the screen with the programs, I can make sure, you can make sure that everyone gets one if you want to do that.
Yeah, we
Oops.
can totally do that. And we'll also be talking about programs shortly once we give it over to Catherine. But before we do that, we do have a couple questions, Kelly, for you.
Sure.
One person has asked, during the pre-approval process, what credit scores do lenders look at? Do they use Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion?
That's a great question. So when we pull your credit, we use a mortgage credit report. And there are three, again, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian are the repositories. We take the highest score and the lowest score out, and we use the one in the middle. Now, keep in mind, if you're getting credit reports from like Credit Sesame, Credit Karma, or even your bank, those are consumer reports. So if you see a score and then you go to your lender and that score is a little bit lower or even a lot lower, just know that that's the score that we have to use. We have to use the one from the mortgage credit report. But great question.
Wonderful. And then also, someone asked if you wouldn't mind explaining a little bit more about escrow and what it is.
Sure. So an escrow is an account that every time you make your payment, part of the payment goes into that account. So we talked about principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Okay. So the taxes, so let's just say your taxes are $250 a month and your homeowner's insurance is $100 a month. That money is put in an escrow account. So every July and end of December, when the tax bill comes out, they pull that money that you've been putting in every month to pay that bill. Same thing with the homeowner's insurance. So every time you make that payment, $100 goes into that account. And then when that bill comes, it's paid. So that's what the escrow is for. And that's a great question.
All right. Nothing, no other questions currently. So with that, Kelly, if you're able to stay till the end, wonderful. And if we get more questions, we'll be able to open it up for everyone who's here. But for now, thank you so much, and we'll pass it over to Catherine and DHCD.
And I'm gonna patch back in on my phone because I do have another event to attend, but I will be on my phone and I will be available for questions.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Catherine, you should be good to go.
Okay. All right, let's see. Go right here. Go right here. All right. Frank, do you want to show your handsome face? If he's still on. Well, I'm gonna stir things up a little. You've just heard about some really exciting information, and both the agent and the lender were very, very thorough in explaining everything. Well, my name is Catherine Kramer Dale, and I'm with the State of Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. And the state of Maryland has programs that you can apply for through a lender like Kelly. And Kelly works for Meridian, and they're one of our top performing lenders. And when you apply directly with the lender will pretty much know if you need down payment and closing cost assistance, they're going to show you the Maryland Mortgage Program. So we are a state agency, but you don't apply directly with us. You apply directly with a lender. This is our website. It's www.mmp.maryland, MARYLAND.gov. And this is our home page. And on here, it does say to find a lender. And when you click on it, it will give you a list of all the lenders that are approved with us. And yeah, we have about 113 lenders. But the lenders that participate on this home buying house keys event with the Maryland Association of Realtors are our top performing lenders. So we're bringing a lender to you that would be a very good connection. When you're on the website, you can certainly go through Kelly or you can go through one of our Find a Lenders. And when you're on there, I want to bring you over to, and I don't want to reiterate what Kelly and Issa were talking about as far as how the process is, but once you get pre-approved, as Kelly mentioned, you have an approval letter, you are ready to put an offer on a house. And then that's how you know what your purchasing power is. And then you're going to take that to the agent, and the agent's going to help you look for your house. Well, if you need down payment and closing cost assistance, I want to take you to our website. And it's anybody can jump on the website. We're a state agency, so we're very transparent. If you scrolled over to resources for a lender, this is where all of our lenders go to. And under resources for a lender, the first thing you'll see is our rate sheet. Anybody can come on this website. So let me show you the rate sheet so that you can see. If you are not a first time home buyer, you can still utilize the Maryland Mortgage Program and get down payment and closing cost assistance. But here's the deal. You cannot own anything or have interest in any property anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. So it's not just owning in Maryland. You cannot own anything anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. And the reason why we stipulate that is because the state of Maryland is providing you money to help you with your down payment and closing cost assistance. And we want to make sure that you're using this program for you to purchase your primary residence. So if you own something somewhere else, we want to make sure you're not going to end up using the program and then turning around and flipping this as an investment property. So we don't want you to own anything anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. In order to be considered a first-time home buyer, I will briefly tell you, you are someone who A, has never owned a home, which that obviously means you're a first-time home buyer. But let's say you did own a home and you sold your home for whatever reasons were going on in your life. You sold your home and you haven't been on a deed or had any interest in a property anywhere in the world in the last 3 years. So if you haven't been on a deed or had any interest in the last 3 years, we consider you a first-time home buyer. If you're a veteran and you're using your VA exemption, it's a VA entitlement form, and you are going to use that with the Maryland Mortgage Program for the first time, guess what? Yay, we consider you a first-time home buyer. So if the agents and the lenders are working with any veterans, we have a form. It's called the attachment V as in veteran, and we would ask for a copy of their DD 214. And again, you can't own anything anywhere in the world at the time of this closing, but we would consider you to be eligible as a first-time home buyer. Well, then there's another tool that we have. The agents learn about this through our training that we offer them through our realtor rep. And then the lenders learn this from Frank and I because we do the trainings for all the lenders. There's one other opportunity for you to be considered a first-time home buyer. The lender will pull up this thing called the Maryland Mortgage Program Mapper. It's on our website. And it is a mapper that is shared with the State of Maryland Department of Planning and the State of Maryland Department of Housing. And when they type in the property address, if it says that the property is in a targeted area, then you are magically considered a first-time home buyer. So let me reiterate, if you're on this call and you don't think you're eligible as a first-time home buyer, it's okay. You could use these programs over here. They're called the Flex products. There's a Flex Direct, there's a Flex 6000, and there's a Flex 3%. The Flex Direct is the lowest rate on this side of the rate sheet, but it means that you're getting our program. You're not getting any money from us, but you're possibly getting a lower rate. And we don't charge any fees to the borrower. If you do need money and you're not a first-time home buyer, we have a $6,000 product. The $6,000 is recorded as a second lien. You don't have to make any monthly payments on that. You're not charged an interest rate on that, but you have to pay it back when you sell or refi. So these are the rates right here for the first mortgage. That's how, like Kelly explained, your principal and interest. That's how you're calculating your mortgage payment. And then this $6,000 that we're letting you borrow is recorded as a second lien. You're not charged any interest. You don't make any monthly payments on it. But when you go to sell or refinance your house, you have to pay back your first mortgage and you have to pay us back the $6,000. People often ask, does the state of Maryland run out of money? No, because you have to pay us back. Currently, none of our programs are grants. None of them just magically disappear, even if you've lived in the house for a very long time. You have to pay the $6,000 back. It's a down payment assistance loan. Or the lender could say, you know what? Let's look at the 3% because it's the same exact interest rate, the same guidelines, all the same paperwork, but 3% of the total first mortgage, round down, no change, might give the borrower more than $6,000. So the lender will look to see how you can maximize not only your rate, but also maximize the amount of money that you could possibly use for down payment and or closing cost. Now, if the lender says, you know what, you are considered a first-time home buyer because either A, you've never owned or you hadn't owned in 3 years, or you're the veteran, or you're buying in a targeted area. So if the lender says, guess what? You're a first-time home buyer, the lender will slide to the side of the rate sheet. They're called the first time advantage products. And if you notice, the first time advantage direct is the same product as the flex direct. But look at the rate. Woo! It's so much lower. So if you're a first time home buyer, not only do you get the same first three products available to you as you were on the flex side, but you get more programs available to you and the rates are lower. So the lender will definitely help you determine if you qualify as a first-time home buyer so that you get lower rates and you have more programs to select. There is the 3% as well as the 6,000. Then there's the 4%. Well, I'm just going to tell you the most popular product right now is our 5%. A lot of people are maybe on this call and they're saying, listen, we have good credit. We've talked to the lender. We know we qualify for the programs, but we don't have enough money saved. We're demonstrating the ability to pay our rent, or we're trying to save money, but we just don't have enough. The 5% is 5% of the total first mortgage, round down, no change. That's a significant amount of money that we are allowing you to borrow to help you with your down payment and closing costs. So like Issa said, to bring your checkbook, well, guess what? I'm going to tell you, don't bring your checkbook. Because if the lender is able to provide this program to you that you qualify, this money is assisting you with paying your down payment and closing costs so that maybe you don't have to bring your checkbook. Maybe you don't have to take any money out of any of your savings so that you're using the program to help you with that gap. We also have a program called our Home Start. It is providing you 6% of the total first mortgage, round down, no change. And look, the rate is lower than the 5. And you're like, well, Catherine, wait a minute. Is that a typo? No. The 5%, this was the rate. The 6%, the rates are lower. Well, here's the catch. The First Time Advantage Home Start product provides you the maximum amount of down payment assistance and a lower rate because it's for a borrower who has a low to moderate income. Remember, Kelly was mentioning the income that you need to qualify for? Well, they look at the income that you qualify for. We look at the income for households. So like Kelly was mentioning, you've got to know how much money you're bringing into the household, full-time job, part-time job, side gig, you name it. Is grandma living with you or whoever, anybody that's 18 years or older? Well, for the Home Start product, you first look at the qualifying income, and the lender will look at you and say, hey, you qualify because you can do the Home Start. It's 6%. You have a lower moderate income that will allow you to qualify for the maximum amount. Now, those are our standard products. Well, now we're going to go into the specialty products. If you're sitting here, like Issa said, she does programs in Montgomery County and Frederick County and all over the state. And Kelly, I know, goes all over the state as well. Well, if you're interested in purchasing a home in Montgomery County, We are working along with Montgomery County government. And Montgomery County said, we're going to put some money in this bucket, and it's now going to be a Maryland Mortgage Program product. So you still have to meet our 6 guidelines, which I'm briefly going to tell you. But if you're a first-time home buyer, that's the first one. If you are an employee of a Montgomery County agency, then you can use this Montgomery Employee Down Payment Assistance Loan. Now, are you ready for this? Are y'all sitting down? Because if you're buying in Montgomery County, read it. I'm just kidding. I don't even have to tell you. The MedPal is for first-time home buyers looking to purchase a home in Montgomery County. You must be employed by a certain department in the county in order to qualify. So there's a gentleman by the name of Carlos Daza that works for Montgomery County government. And on the fact sheet, we let the lender know who they contact. His name is Carlos Daza. He verifies that you, in fact, work for a Montgomery County participating agency. And then guess what? He gives the lender, like Kelly, a form that says you qualify. And guess what? Look at this. It says comes with $50,000 of down payment assistance. Woo! Did y'all hear me? That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Now, that $50,000 is recorded as a second lien. You don't make any payments on it. You're not charged any interest, but you do have to pay it back when you sell or refi. Now, I will tell you, and don't laugh, but all of our loans are fixed 30. So what that means is the rates are fixed, and they're fixed for 30 years. So if you stay in this program for 30 years with a Montgomery County employee, Montgomery County said, poof, we'll forgive the $50,000. I don't know many people that stay in their home in this program for 30 years, but if you do, that $50,000 will be forgiven. But if you don't stay in it for the 30 years and you sell or you refi, you do have to pay it back. So when you sell or refi, you got to pay back your first mortgage, you have to pay back the down payment assistance, and this one happens to be $50,000. But it's a huge opportunity for you to purchase a home in Montgomery County. The last product we offer is called the Maryland Smart Buy. So if any of you are on the call and you say, man, I got student loan debt. That's really, it's a huge payment I got to make. I don't really know if I'm going to qualify. I wish I could pay off my student loan debt. Well, guess what? The state of Maryland Department of Housing, through the Maryland Mortgage Program, offers a product where if you are a first-time home buyer and you meet our guidelines, which the lender will guide you to make sure you do, we will give you a loan to help you purchase a home. It's only a conventional product. These are the interest rates for the first mortgage. If you don't want any down payment, fine. If you want $6,000, fine. If you qualify for the lower to moderate income at 50%, area median income, you'll get the 6% and the rate is lower. The student loan portion, Kelly from Meridian or any lender that you would use that's approved with the Maryland Mortgage Program, they're going to pull your credit, as Kelly mentioned, and they're going to look and see, oh, do you have student loan debt? Well, if you do, this program currently is going to pay off 15% of the purchase price up to a maximum of $20,000. So if you're sitting on this call and you have student loan debt that's like maybe $18, $19, or $20,000, this is it. This is the program for you. Because we're going to help you purchase a home, allow you to get down payment and closing cost assistance, and we're going to help you pay off your student loan debt. If your student loan debt, it does not exceed the 15% up to the maximum of $20,000, guess what? It's all paid off. All paid off. When you leave the closing table, you can't have any student loan debt remaining. So don't get me wrong, if you owe $50 or $60 or $70,000 in student loan debt, this is probably not going to work for you because you're going to have to come to the table paying off the difference. But right now it's 15% up to the max of $20,000. There's other guidelines. Again, this program ends at 7:30, so we're just giving you a snapshot of what the state of Maryland offers you. This is a great opportunity. I've been in this mortgage industry as long as Kelly. Look at the gray hair, right? Look at Frank's gray hair. But we love our jobs, right? We work for the state. We are here as public servants because we want to help you as taxpayers be made aware of all the programs that the state offers you. This isn't a handout. This is a program that provides you opportunities to help you with down payment and closing costs because that's the greatest obstacle right now of why people aren't owning homes. That's why a lot of people still have their kids living at home. So this is an opportunity for you to help your kids and empower your children to purchase. I want to thank you guys for taking the time, really being serious about listening to all of the information that the Maryland Association of Realtors provides so that you can hear about all the programs that are out there and that you have resources with an agent, you have resources with a lender. We're the state of Maryland. You're reaching out directly to the lender, but we work with the lenders all day and every day to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and that they're providing you all of the options that will make you available to help you achieve the American dream of owning a home. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you so much, Catherine. All right, we have a good number of questions to get through. So we'll get through them as quickly as we can. We will probably run over. If any of our presenters need to leave, please just let us know. We completely understand. Attendees, as a reminder, this webinar is recorded, so you will get the entire recording probably by next week. So if you can't stay either, we totally understand. You'll still get the information. But with that, our first question that we had that they've been waiting very patiently with us
Yeah.
is, are there any down payment assistance or programs that help with buying a home when an occupant is disabled?
Okay, so Jasmine, I saw your question on there and I wanted to blurt it out, but I'm being patient. So the Maryland Mortgage Program, we don't run off of calendar year, we run off of fiscal year. So all the money gets funded by the governor and all the government agencies get all their money July 1st. So, yes, do we have a program? It's called the Maryland Home Mobility, but it runs out of money quickly. Meridian, Kelly can offer it. All of our approved lenders can offer it. You don't have to be, you have to be an approved lender, but that program called the Home Mobility will be out, I guarantee, July 1st. And that doesn't mean that it's too early not to start. You can get in touch with Kelly. He can pull your credit. He can start gathering documentation. You can then get your pre-approval. You can meet with ISSA, the agent, and start looking. And then when the home mobility product comes available, then you can go for it. It does offer you a considerable amount of down payment assistance if you are disabled or you are caring for a disabled individual. We do not allow co-signers on any of our programs. So if you're on the loan, you have to live in the home.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
I
All
like to
right,
add
another
that
one.
I like to add in that Baltimore City also has
Oh,
a
yeah.
program with the first time home buyers program of Baltimore City. That if you have a disabled person living in the home, you get an additional $5,000.
Yeah, I forgot that, Kelly. Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
no worries.
Yeah. And what Kelly's saying is you can still use the Maryland Mortgage Program, and then you can stack that with
Correct.
the Maryland Mortgage Program. So you can get all these buckets of money.
Yes, and always your lender, whether it's Kelly or someone else, if they're approved with the Maryland Mortgage Program, they're going to be aware of the fact that there are going to be local programs for you as well, potentially.
Mhm.
But always ask.
Mhm.
Always ask. All right. When would you recommend, this could be for anyone, when would you recommend starting the home buying process as far as looking for agents, realtors, and getting pre-approvals? Would it be like a year in advance, a couple months? How long of a lead up before you start looking for homes?
Go
So
for
I
it,
think
Kelly.
that Yep. So I think thank you. I think that when you feel like your credit is in a position to be approved, I feel like if you're coming up on a lease that's getting ready to expire, I would probably start the process at least 90 to 120 days prior to that. If you know you have some challenges, whether it's credit challenges or even saving money, you may even want to start earlier than that because just because you're not ready now, a good loan officer is going to give you an action plan, and hopefully that action plan will have you ready by the time your lease expires or when you're ready to purchase. So I think, it depends. If your credit is solid and you have some money saved, then 90 to 120 days. But if you feel like you want some professional guidance, you can even start a year in advance.
Mhm.
But it doesn't hurt. I mean, we're going to do a soft pull, so it won't affect your credit score, and it's just information for you to edify yourself with. So the sooner the better.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Information is power. And I always tell my clients, the sooner the better. If you're ready, and even if you're not ready, the loan officer will create a plan. We can create a plan. Even I have clients that I have worked with for a couple years
Oh,
that they finally, have settled on a house. I have clients that have closed with $25,
yep.
literally brought up to the table $25. They bought a
Yep.
house with $25. I love the Maryland mortgage program. So
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's why I said leave your checkbook at home.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. All right. Are there any places or programs that will approve you with under a 620 credit score?
Well, I'll start off first and say currently the state of Maryland, through the Maryland Mortgage Program, your credit score has to be at a 640 or higher. But I know Kelly is aware of programs that are out there that he can put you through that are less than. Go for it.
Yeah, so as I said before, it really depends on what's going on in the market. Up until last week, we made a corporate decision that we want to see credit scores up over 640. Lately, in the last maybe 12 months, we've seen, some level of people were having problems with making their mortgage payments. So, we want to make sure that you're successful. So if you don't have a 620 right now, if you don't have a 640, then I can help you get to that point. I mean, we do what's called a credit rescore analysis, where you may have to pay something off, you may have to pay something down, or you may even have to open up a line of credit or credit card and then use it and keep the balance flow. And once we get your credit score to an optimal level, at that point you can apply. Now, another thing to keep in mind is all loans go through what's called an automated underwriting system. So it's a
Mhm.
computer generated system that's going to look at your credit, how much money you have saved, how much money you're going to have in reserves, how much money you're putting into the deal, how long have you been on your job, and it comes up with an answer. If you're not approved through that automated system, then you can't use Maryland Mortgage Program. You have to have a desktop approval. Okay.
Yep.
Now, if you don't use Maryland Mortgage Program and you don't get approved to the automated system, we can do what's called a manual underwrite.
Mhm.
We may have to verify your rent. You may have to have a certain amount of reserves left over after settlement and things of that nature. So, don't be discouraged if you're not there, because again, a good loan offer is going to help improve your credit profile as well as your credit score to get you the best and the most um, down payment assistance that's out there, and also help you get your loan approved.
So a follow-up question. Someone was asking just for the name. Is there a specific program to help with the credit, or is it a general just you sit down with them and make an action plan?
So there are some credit repair entities out there. I'm not a big fan of them. I did hear about one recently, but I'm not going to refer it because I don't know. But at the end of the day, we roll our sleeves up. We do the credit rescore analysis. As a seasoned loan officer, I know what an underwriter wants to see to get your file approved. So, if you talk to your loan officer, well in advance, then, and I've done this before. I've had people like Issa said, that's been around for 2 years, sometimes 3 years. Rome wasn't built in a day, nor is bad credit into approvable credit. Sometimes it happens quickly, and sometimes it takes work.
So yes, the best course is definitely talking to a lender soon. If you're worried about your credit and where it's going to be, starting that conversation early and telling them like I'm not ready yet, but I know I need to get there. There's no downside to starting now. Are there any first-time homebuyer grants in Maryland? Grants.
Not with us. Not currently right now. We used to have them when the rates were lower, but as the rates started to creep up, they would be like at 9%. So, we're not going to offer that right now. But Kelly may know of some that are out there in the city and the county.
Yeah, yeah. So there are a number of first-time homebuyer grants through Baltimore City. There's one that's called Buy Back the Block. If you live in a certain census tract and you purchase in that same census tract, you could be eligible up to 20,000. Right now they have about 8 slots, 7 or 8 slots left. The last time I saw, but that is a true grant. The trolley tour, which was held over the weekend, that's a $5,000 grant. And basically, a lot of the programs, they're forgivable loans, and it's based off of how long you stay in a property. So, for instance, FHLB, which is the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta, right now they have 17,500. There's not much money left, but that's a great program because if you stay in the house for 5 years, you don't have to pay it back. Now, if you stay in it for 4 years, you pay 20% back. If you stay in the house 3 years, you pay 40% back, etc. So if you stay in 2 years, you pay, 20% increments. So for every year you stay in, they take off 20% of what you owe. So there are some grants available. A lot of them are being depleted of funds. It's always first come, first serve.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so local grants potentially. It depends on where you are. No statewide ones currently.
I do want to say sometimes for those other grants, the income limits are lower too. So you have to take everything into consideration.
But it's a great thing to talk about with your lender.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Regarding income limits,
Yeah.
does this mean that a family of two in Baltimore County cannot make more than the targeted amount for first-time home buyers?
No. So I pulled up the chart. It's on my phone. So I pulled up the chart. So for Baltimore County, like for instance, when I talked about the mapper, Kelly would pull up the property address that you're interested in purchasing, and he would be able to tell you. Now I can tell you hands down, if you're buying in Baltimore City, you're all in a targeted. So you're always considered a first-time home buyer. If you're buying in Baltimore County has some areas that are targeted and some areas that are non-targeted. So do you have a pen and piece of paper that's asking the question? Baltimore County, for 1 to 2 people in your household, if it's in a non-targeted, you're capped at $136,529. That's household income. If you are in a targeted area, you can bring in a maximum of $158,040. If you have 3 or more people in Baltimore County, if it's a non-targeted, it's 157,008. If it's in a targeted, it's $184,380. So when we talk about household, it's not only you as the borrower, but it's anyone living in your household that's 18 years or older. So these income limits are very high. So don't think that, oh, I make too much money, I don't qualify. And there's a chart that's on our website that shows the income limits, and then the lenders all know how to make access to it too. But it's there for you as well.
Wonderful. Another question. Can you explain liens?
I mean, Kelly, do you want to explain or do you want me to?
You can explain it.
Or ESIS too?
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
Or
Isa.
Isa.
Yeah. Isa, you want to explain it?
So yeah, liens are basically debt that are attached to the property. So if there's a home that there's a lien attached to it, unless that's clear, that property cannot be sold.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be clear by the time you settle, and that's something that the title company is going to be addressing. That's why they do a title search.
Yep. Yep.
All right. A very good question. I am a Virginia resident looking to purchase a home in Maryland. Do I qualify for Maryland first-time homebuyer programs?
Well, we would love for you to move from any state to come to Maryland. So, in order to be a first-time home buyer, you can't have owned anywhere in the world at the time of this closing, or you can't have owned anywhere in the world at the time of this closing within 3 years. So, are you living in Virginia and are you renting, or do you live at home? Or so if you're renting and you live at home, you would move to Maryland, you'd be a first-time home buyer. If you're living in Virginia and you own a home, you'd have to sell it and either A, have had 3 years of a waiver, or if you're purchasing in a targeted area. So we'd love for you to move to Maryland.
Great. All right.
May
Oh, this
I,
was
may
another
I,
one in
may I just add something
Yeah,
really quick about
yeah,
first-time
of
home
course.
buyers, and that this actually had happened to me more than once, even though I asked the question, have you ever owned a home in the state of Maryland for transfer taxes?
Oh,
Because, yes, because there is a big difference
the
between
difference.
the lending side and the state of Maryland when you're, for transfer tax. And in my 9 years, it had happened to me twice. And even if you qualify as a first-time home buyer with for a grant, if you have owned a property prior, you're no longer a first-time home buyer in Maryland for transfer tax purposes.
Yeah, I was going to say for tax purposes, it has nothing to do with the Maryland mortgage. We don't want to confuse people, but if you're exempt from paying transfer taxes if you're a first-time home buyer, but the Department of Assessments and Taxation has a different definition what's a first-time home buyer for them as to what's a first-time home buyer for us. So it's just a matter of the education process of knowing all these things that kind of move and the kind of shift. So you don't need to remember everything today, but really talk to a professional that really knows their stuff. And obviously, she already knows to know about that. So just go through it.
Great. All right. Kelly, you stated earlier that lenders take the highest of the credit scores of the three bureaus.
No, we take the highest score out and we take the lowest score out and we use the one in the middle.
Yes, so that may be the question that we're getting includes information about comparing their score with the three credit bureaus and not getting the same score back from their lender that they expected. And that may be where some of the discrepancy is.
Yeah. So again, you have to, if you're getting a consumer report, we can't use that, but you have to use the mortgage reporting score. So again, we take the middle score. We take the highest one out, we throw it out. We take the lowest, we throw that out, and we use the one directly in the middle.
All right. And then we have one more question, but it is again about Baltimore County, and I believe, Kelly, you have already answered it. But
Okay.
again, not only will you be getting the recording of this and the presentation materials, but you will also be getting all of these wonderful people's email addresses when I email all of that out. You all will be BCC'd, so they will not be able to reach out to you. But if you have any follow-up questions for any of our presenters tonight, or if you would like to work with Isis or Kelly, you will have their contact information right in that email and you can reply right to them. So, any other questions about Baltimore County and Baltimore City, I highly recommend that you get in touch with Kelly, and I'm sure he's happy to answer any of those questions. But with that, we are now 16 minutes over, so thank you so much for your extra time already, all of our wonderful presenters, and all of you for staying on the call. It is so appreciated, and we are hoping that we have left you with a sense that you really know what you're going to be doing and getting into, and you know what your next steps might be. So thank you again for your attendance. As a reminder, we do this every month. So our next one for your home buying keys will be on June 11th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Please share that date with anyone you think would benefit from this information, another soon-to-be home buyer, someone who's thinking about starting to save up, or if you just want to come and ask more questions, you are more than welcome. And we would love any feedback that you're interested in giving us about this webinar. I am sending a link now in the chat to a very short Google form. If you have the time and the willingness to please tell us what you liked, what you thought could be improved, if you still had more questions that weren't answered, Please let us know. We want to make sure this webinar is as good as it can be for other future home buyers as well. And of course, be sure to check out MarylandHomeownership.com for more resources and information all about homeownership, no matter where you are on your journey. We wish you all the best. We hope it's a success, and we hope you find a wonderful next home. And if you have questions, you can email us at webinar@mdrealtor.org. Thank you all so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.